When he was forced to leave Afghanistan following the brutal beatings of journalists, including his own brother, by the Taliban, Daryabi continued to pursue his activism from afar. Currently, he is working with translators at the National Press Club to translate his audio and video story of the fall of Kabul to share with the world. His goal is to ensure that the translation is true to the story as he reported it, and not to a particular country's ideology. Today, Mr. Daryabi will discuss what he, as a journalist, observed inside the politics, international institutes, and decision-making meetings he witnessed. He will focus on the role of translators regarding issues of injustice and discrimination. I'd like to take a moment here to express our deep gratitude to Kim McGettigan from our Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus for putting us in touch with our wonderful keynote speaker. Please join me in welcoming him, Zaki Daryabi, to the 2022 Confluence Translation and Interpretation Conference. I am certain that his presentation will be both thought-provoking and insightful. Mr. Daryabi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me in this year's conference. I'm very happy that is among you. And I'm sorry because I'm not a translator and not expert in this area, but I'm a journalist. I was working with translators for a decade in Afghanistan. The title of this conference this year means for me a lot. First, it's welcoming me to the US, and then it just reminds me a lot of things behind that I lived in Afghanistan and forced to leave my country and my homeland, my office, my friends, my relations, the pains, the laughs that we had together in Afghanistan. And I was part of this 2-decade communication and joint work between the international community in Afghanistan to bring democracy in Afghanistan, to give the citizens their rights, to respect women's rights, human rights in Afghanistan, and to move forward. So the title of this conference gave me a lot of hope because I received a lot of support when I arrived in the US by the community, by the neighbors, by the government of the US. I'm thankful from one side, but from the other side, it's really give me kind of pressure in my sight while you see that your children, your family, your friends who are in the US didn't know enough about the community, didn't feel this country like their home. But I see that a ways forward, and absolutely we will fix with the new culture. We will be part of the community, and I hope we can be positive in the society, and we can solve what we left behind. If I ask Chelsea, please, can you share the video that I shared with the conference? It just connect me to my topic. I want just friends and listener watch the video. What is the plateaus and why it's matter that we can talk about what's been wrong with translators and translation in Afghanistan, and how this just help the country to collapse. Can you please share that, Chelsea?
Please, once we start this video, just let us know if you can hear or if you have any problem with the audio.
Yvonne, we have problem, but I think because it has subtitles, it might take care of everything. Is it okay?
Thank you very much, Chelsea and everyone. We had some technical issue with the sound, but it is a very short view of what happened inside Italy as one of the achievements of Afghanistan in past 2 decades, with collaboration with international community, and especially the presence of US government and many allies around the world. So it is just show a brief insight that how organizations like Etilatros, like that we have thousands of them in Afghanistan, collapsed with the government, and how these organizations and also many others try to save the achievements, but unfortunately politics and power and just big games destroyed everything in Afghanistan. As a journalist, as I was working from 2012 until now, I watched that how translators helped Afghanistan or moved some ideas wrong in Afghanistan. When international community, especially the military forces, just came to Afghanistan, there were thousands and hundreds of soldiers around Afghanistan, every provinces. And every unit had a translator. The translator who was working in the village had a lot of strong communication on the society. So many military actions, many information, many things that happen in the village just lead by the translators. There's a lot of cases of killing civilians. The translator just shared misinformation to the foreign troops, and they actioned and they just operated against people because they thought that it is enemy, it's terrorists, it's Al-Qaeda, it's Taliban. But actually, in many cases, there was just a small problem between translator and villagers. There was just a personal enmity between the translators and also the people of the area. So that's why they just shared misinformation to the foreign troops, and many people, include civilians, just killed in Afghanistan because the translator used their power, their positions against the people and also for their self-benefits. If we look to provincial reconstruction team in every provinces of Afghanistan, there's thousands of translators who are connected with the team, and they went to work in every area of Afghanistan. They mismanaged the resources of rebuilding of Afghanistan. They were involved in corruption. They were involved how they can connect their networks to the foreign troops, to international community, and they actually use their roles against the people. They use their roles for their self-benefits. They use their power, how to collect money for themselves. If I just move from provinces to the embassies and also to the international organization and institutes in Afghanistan, who was actually running the power, who was decision maker in Afghanistan, we see that there was a lot of big things. Every embassy in Kabul had hundreds of translators in many parts, in human rights area, in women rights area, in political unit, in development unit. The translator was monitoring first. They were reporting to the foreign institutes. They were collecting information. They were gatekeepers who is going to come to the embassy, to the institute, who should not come to the institutes. The roles that they played, they just increased the ethnic tensions in Afghanistan. Many times I monitored that how the translator just connecting some small network of their self to the foreign troops, to the foreign embassies, foreign institutes, and that I watched that how they just ignored a lot of people, especially the people who didn't talk in English. They just kept them away, even if they were very active in human rights area, in civil society, and journalism area, in women area. The roles that they played, I strongly believe that make a lot of problem between the achievements of Afghanistan and also the goals that international community following in Afghanistan. They just bring their networks, they distributed the resources according to their geographical area, they distributed the resources according to their ethnicity, they increased misinformation against some ethnicity, against some organizations. They just loaded a lot of misinformation against some part of Afghanistan community and some part of some organization. Then, excuse me, I was in 2016, an article published in Iranian Cultural Affairs against Italatrus, and told that Italatrus is the newspaper that are working with Iranian. And we just responded that it's a lie by Iranian government because we are not working with US Embassy. Then when a month later, when there was a meeting in US Embassy, they told me that we heard that you are working with the Russian embassy in Kabul. They are funding you. Then I told that no, it's wrong. Finally, after 3 months, I found that the translator who are working in the embassy just spreading misinformation against some people, against some organization. In the foreign officials who are working there, they making their judgment according to the misinformation the translator spreading inside the organizations, inside the meetings that are decision making. Then this was what I actually seen in Afghanistan, and I think it's was a big mistake. It's a part of what we monitor, and there's a lot of examples. Then if we move from foreign institutes to the Afghanistan government, after 2014, when President Ghani came to Afghanistan and announced as president, the whole cabinet of Afghanistan is combined from the people who had dual citizen. Some of them was from US, some of them were from UK, Australia, Canada, or any Europe country. They just come after decades of living in Afghanistan. Well, they were abroad of Afghanistan. Then when they arrived here in Afghanistan as a cabinet member, they didn't know the local language in Afghanistan. They didn't know Pashto, they didn't know Persian. This was the two biggest language that we speak in Afghanistan. They didn't know how to go from the ministry to a mile or two, and didn't know where is the offices of a government, where they didn't know about the culture of the society. The many meetings inside the cabinet were launching in English, while a lot of people didn't know English. A minister who was Ministry of Defense, for example, he is leading a war against Taliban or other terrorist group, and he's responsible to defense from the people. But he didn't know what his generals, what his commanders are speaking. So then there was also a kind of translator between the hiring official of Afghanistan and also the body of the structure in organizations. The translators between ministers and many other officials just went on the way that they just increased corruption. Afghanistan is one of the most corrupt country for a decade. In the translator, I believe, helped to rise corruption, to increase corruption inside Afghanistan, because they were connected not just for translation, they were the main gatekeepers to the power, to the officials. So they just introduced the programs and also the people that they thought that helped their benefits. So this layer, this layer of translator between the cabinet ministers, cabinet members, and also the body of the government, increased corruption, increased injustice, increased a lot of strong but in wrong decision that helped that Afghanistan government collapsed. In 2016, we had a leak in Itlatros. There was an internal memo inside a group to Office of the President. Office of the President, we call Idari Umur, is a close office to the President. He is managing everything for President. He is controlling all the governors. That position is controlling all the ministerial positions. And that memo, they just passed a 12 article. One, we should not hire non-Pashtuns in the government. We should hire only the Persian speakers who are not very familiar with Persian. They try to monopolize the power for small networks of people who were connected with the cabinet members who just come from other countries. They had the Afghanistan citizenship, but they had another citizenship from another countries as well. So this kinds of decision making in networking monopolized the power to a small group of people. The people I'm talking about who didn't know the local language include the President Ghani. He is not well known in Persian and Pashto. They called each other a core team for the president of Afghanistan. And the core team was involved in every decision. They just changed the institutes because of one person. They destroyed the institutes because of one person. We have a lot of examples, and I think we don't need that details, but AOP and many other organizations destroyed because Salam Rahimi and many other officials, because they were close to the president. There's a lot of other examples. I think in peace process that we worked for 2 years, there's also a lot of mistakes, but I do not want to mention them. So my evaluation and what I monitored in Afghanistan, I didn't tell that we didn't did a lot of good things with translators. But I see the negative side of what the translator did in Afghanistan. And if we didn't respect to the honesty in our work, then our work, our decision making, our interpretation can collapse up government, can help to see the fall of Kabul. And I believe that the translators, especially who are working with the military area, they increased the war because they shared misinformations to the foreign troops, to the Afghan government, and they just killed civilians. Then their family just come to be the enemy of the government, try to be against the foreign troops. Then in political institutes, they just increased injustice. They tried to support their own networks, and they tried to monopolize resources. They tried to increase corruption. When you just come to last part, that was the government, I totally believe that the corruption was one of the biggest reasons of the Afghanistan collapse, Afghanistan government collapse. And the people who were in the cabinet, and they were not aware about the pain of the people, the achievement that Afghanistan received in what was happening in Afghanistan, because they were not informed, because their family was here, their property was here, and everything was here, and they didn't know what is the local culture is and what the people demands from the government, and they just played their role in their networkings. They helped a lot that people going to be against government. The fraud that they did in the elections, the people just stopped going to vote again. And I think that the translators that was working between the cabinet, between the president, and the people in the structure of the government, they helped that we should take a lot of distance between the government and also between the citizens. So these are the faults that I think happen with the translator in Afghanistan, and they somehow help the collapse of the government in Afghanistan. They increased injustice, they increased corruption in Afghanistan, and they just ignored the public benefit of Afghanistan. They just escaped the people to be engaged in the system, to the power, and to have their right. This is what I think we understand from the role of the translator. But this is just one part. The other part is that in past 2 decades, a lot of articles just translated in Afghanistan, a lot of books translated in Afghanistan. And I think in the history of Afghanistan, we didn't see this much good translation in Afghanistan. The translation bring a lot of knowledge in the society. There's a lot of people who can't read English and many other languages, but the translator brought a lot of things in the society. I think there's a lot of books that I can name that just come in Afghanistan. It's the positive part, but the negative part was most important for me. And I'm going to finish with this, that Ashraf Ghani just wrote a book, Fixing Failed States. Fixing Failed State was translated in Persian, and it's a book by Ashraf Ghani and Claire Lockhart. The book shows the direction how you can rebuild a collapsed government, and it shows the way. But the final word is that book, and the writer of that book just destroyed Afghanistan, and he was supposed to fix the government in Afghanistan. It wasn't part of this, that when you are writing a book that how to fix a failed state, then you are the president of that system that is going to collapse to the Taliban. And in Afghanistan, this happened. Ashraf Ghani is writing in English, is not able to write in Persian, and he wrote here to show the way for world how we can fix a failed state. But the reality is this, that in 15 August 2021, he just escaped Afghanistan, and the government was collapsed while he was in the power. And this is a huge thing that I believe, and part of this was the role of the translators. This is what we seen behind, and now you see that the government collapsed, the journalists left Afghanistan, civil society is destroyed, women can't go to the street free, girls can't go to school, and we have millions of girls that are waiting at home and asking for permission to go to school, and the Taliban didn't allow them to read after grade 6. And you see that millions of youths in Afghanistan didn't know what will be the next year, and they didn't know what they should do today. They didn't know how they can continue their knowledge. And this is what happened. And unfortunately, a part of this, the translator had the role. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Daryabi, for sharing with us and with the translators and interpreters in the audience about your experience and your insight of how you see the importance role of the translator and how important it is for the real situations. As one of the comments that we saw on the chat while you were speaking, challenges, there are challenges when there is no formal training, including training on ethics, among other things, among the translators or interpreters. Also, one of the comments says, unsupervised access to power without professional ethical self-constraints is also one of the issues that may be affecting in that kind of situation. And we have a question that says, how might we better help the general public understand translation as a cultural force? This question will be a good topic for NCATA members or DC Alt, or I don't know if you would like to express maybe a short answer on this question. How might we better help the general public understand translation as a cultural force?
It was the first question.
Yes, it was, but basically yes. And another question was, were you and most of your colleagues able to leave Afghanistan safely?
Many of my colleagues left Afghanistan. The video that I showed, the faces that you seen there, still there's a number in Afghanistan, but many of them just spread it to Spain, Canada, many provinces in the US, Albania, France, and many other countries. Some of them are still seeking the way how they can get out from Afghanistan. Well, there's thousands of Afghan in the list, and they are waiting to leave. My colleagues are part of that, and it's not happening. And the first question, I didn't understand actually the purpose of the question. If Farah can help me in the regard, I will be grateful.
Okay, Farah, the question is, how might we better help the general public understand translation as a cultural force?
Yes. زکی جان، سوال این هستش که ما چطور میتونیم به مترجما یاد بدیم که مترجما بدونن که منبع و نیروی اصلی فرهنگی در اون منطقه هستن که دارن ترجمه میکنن.
I think the way you are working together, I see that this union of translator is the best way of working. There's a lot of people from from many languages that are working together at how they can transfer their expertise and the professionalism to many countries. Afghanistan's translator, Afghanistan's experts in this area need kind of this networking. I hope that you can add some people from Afghanistan to your network and show the techniques and the professionality that you gain together. And I'm sure that this can be a way for bettering the translator there and to know to act more professional.
And if I may add, Zaki, to your explanation, which is perfectly exactly what we need to do, is to include the translators who came, or interpreters who came from Afghanistan, excuse me, and now are joining our communities in the US. They have to go through training, but training always requires planning and also resources. A place like Montgomery College maybe would be a great place for training the people, the Afghans who came from Afghanistan as SIV holders. This is special visa that is provided to the translators or anybody who was helping with the US or other foreigners in Afghanistan during the war. I also want just to add very shortly, if I may, in 2006, I realized this as a problem. So I went to Afghanistan and I talked with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the Kabul University, talked with the different organizations who could help me provide a training program that I had the whole plans and everything provided to them. There was a lot of support from Afghans, but unfortunately there was hardly any support from foreigners who were in Afghanistan because Afghans could see this problem. I remember vividly talking with the Kabul University, the chancellor of Kabul University, and he was so interested in having a training program at the Kabul University and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I went to the World Bank and I asked them for some financial support. I didn't get anything. I went to all these different places where they provided financial support, but nobody supported me, even though I had the whole program and everything. So I want to emphasize to what Zaki just said earlier, how there were network of people who would just provide resources only to the people that were in their own network. Because I was not in their network, I would always hit the wall, no matter how much my plans and my program was well defined. And again, I could see this in 2006 because I could see the quality of the translation and interpretation that was available in Afghanistan at the time. With that, I will give the floor back to Zaki. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my concerns as well.
Thank you, Farah. And again, thank you, Mr. Daryabi, for your presentation today. As Kim said on the chat, also there is this is the importance role of the translators, right? It is really important to have the training and to make sure that the ones who are there are the ones who are prepared and not just bilingual or just because they speak the language, the local languages. So thank you so much. Thank you.